Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. Okay, we continue in this journey to pick up some familiarity with Arabic grammar. And we are in the section dealing with al-mabni wal-mu'rab. Al-mabni wal-mu'rab. Mabni being those words which don't change, right? And we said that is 60, maybe 70% of the types of words, right? Fil madi is mabni. Fil amr is mabni, right? Huruf are mabni. Some nouns are mabni, like this. Mu'rab is only going to be some nouns and present tense verbs. So we're at about, like we said, maybe 30% of the types of words. And even we'll see that some present tense verbs may have a way where they would be mabni, right? But last time we talked about the types of bina, the types of the na or the verb being mabni for the past tense. And we, just to quickly look at it, we looked at this and we said, if we read, for instance, ashtad al-bardu, right? Ashtad al-bardu, number one, right? That is a past tense verb for the cold became severe, and it's mabni ala fatha, right? Fatha, right? Then we said al-awladu la'ibu. La'ibu. Then when it becomes third person, plural, masculine, la'ibu is going to be mabni on a dhamma, right? Fatahtu al-bab. Fatahtu al-bab. I opened the door. Sadaqta fi qawlik. You spoke the truth in your speech, right? Al-banatu ta'allamna al-hiyaka. The girls learned sewing or crocheting, knitting. Kharajna ila al-huqul. We went out to the fields. So this one is mabni ala fatha. Past the, we'll go over the rule a little bit. Fatha. This one is mabni ala dam, right? And all of these are mabni ala sukun. So the rule was, if we were to look at it, al-fi'l madi, the past tense verb, yubna ala al-fat, is mabni. It's built. It's standard. It doesn't change from the fatha. Illa, except إذا اتصلت به واو الجماعة, except if there is the waw al-jama' there, which we said is third person masculine, plural, right? Katabu, dakhalu, all of that, right? Then fayubni ala dam, then we said it's going to be on the dhamma. أو اتصلت به التاء المتحركة. التاء المتحركة, like to for I did it, or ta for you did it, or ti for she did it, or tum, or tunna, or tumma, like dual and plural, right? Or a nun and niswa, or the female nun, like in katabna. If we put that at the end, right? Or na for we, right? Adala ala al-fa'il. The na, which is for we. Then it's mabni ala sukun. So the past tense verb, the fi'l madi is mabni in three different conditions. It's mabni ala fatha, it's mabni ala dhamma, or it's mabni ala sukun. Okay? And we had the last class, so you can go back and look at the video if you need to. We talked about that. Now, that's when we said that there are ism, fi'l, harf. And we said this is madi, mudari', and amr. We said this is mabni, right? Mabni. Huruf are mabni. We said the amr is mabni. We said the madi is mabni. And some, I put it in parentheses, are mabni. Some asma are mabni. Bob. Right? So, huruf, we pretty much know how they're mabni. Min is mabni ala sukun. Ila is mabni on this alif there, right? Or fatha, right? Or sukun actually. It's a sukun on the, because you say ila, right? So on and so forth. So these huruf, we know what they're mabni on when we look at them, right? Because they never change. Even when we add, for instance, the fatha there for reading purposes, minal something, this is just for reading purposes. It's still mabni ala sukun. It's still built on the sukun, and the fatha is only for reading purposes. It's not has anything to do with grammar, right? It has nothing to do with grammar. We said i'rab is when we're changing the ends of words due to what enters on before them, due to what happens before them, due to something that is taking place before it. So when we change what, for instance, when we say an yakula, right? Why did yakulu become yakula? Because of the n, right? So something happened before yakul which changed the end of it. Whereas minal bait, for instance, then this ending changed because of what came after it. So we're not dealing with that. This only changed for reading purposes, right? And that's not had anything to do with came before it, right? When we say minal bayti, bayti changed from baytu because of the min, which was before it. So min had an effect on bait, and this is i'rab. As for this is changed because of what comes after it. This noon with the fatha on it is changed what comes after it due to reading purposes. Has nothing to do with grammar. Grammar has what to do with what came before it, not what comes after it. Make sense?
No.
Okay. So now we're on the ahwal al-bina al-amr, because we said that the fi'l amr is mabni. So now we're going to see how they're mabni. We said that the fi'l madi is mabni ala fatha, or ala dhamma, or ala sukun, right? And the majority of them are on the sukun, because the ta al-mutaharrika, the nun al-niswa, and the na ad-dal al-fa'il, or na al-fa'ilin. And the waw is for the waw al-jama', or the dhamma is for the waw al-jama', and the fatha So, quickly. I know I'm doing a lot longer review, but it'll probably help us. كتب كتب كتبوا, right? كتبت كتبتا, right? And كتبنا. Then you have كتبت, كتبتما, كتبتما, كتبتم, كتبتم. Okay? Let's just look at these because the rest of them are all ta, ta, ta. كتبتي, right? كتبتو, كتبتما is repeated. كتبتن, right? Until we get to كتبنا, right? كتبنا. Okay? Now, كتب is fatha, right? Here, double left, huh? Kataba is a fatha, and this alif just shows dual, right? Katabu. Just wait for a second, see if he's coming back on. He just popped in and out again. You hear me, Abu Sumaya?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure for...
Oh, Abdullah broke out.
Yeah, no, he came back in for a second, but... Here he comes.
What happened?
You alright?
Walaikum salam. Oh, my thing just blanked out.
Yeah. Okay, so we said kataba is a fatha. Kataba for dual is still on a fatha. Why? Because this alif here is only for dual. It's called alif al-ithnain. Alif al-ithnain. So it's still on a fatha. Katabu is always going to have that dhamma there. Right? Always going to have that dhamma. And I wrote a little chart down here. Fatha is built, it's Mabni ala Fatha in red, Mabni ala Dhamma in green, Mabni ala Sukun in purple. So we have Katabat. This ta is not the ta of the fa'il or ta al-mutaharrika. There is no haraka on it. It's rather, it has a sukun on it. So, and this just shows the femininity, ta ta'nith. This is called ta at-ta'nith, showing the ta of feminine. So it's not al-mutaharrika. So this is still mabni ala fatha. Right? Same thing here. Katabata, still mabni ala fatha. Right? Because this is the ta ta'nith and this is the alif al-ithnain, for the alif for two. Then we have katabna. It's going to always have that sukun there. Katab ta. It's always going to have that. This is the ta al-mutaharrika. It's always going to have a sukun. Katab tuma. That ba, that third letter. Jalas tuma. Dakhal tuma. It's always going to have that sukun. Katab tum. Katab ti. is going to be a sukoon there. Katab, this is just a repeat here, right? Katab tunna, this is going to have a sukoon there. Katab tu, and katab na. So we see that we have 4 mabni ala fatha from our 12 conjugations here, right? Well, you could say 14, but these are repeated, whatever. 4 mabni ala fatha, 1, which is the third person plural is mabni ala dhamma, and all the rest of them are mabni ala sukun. So if you memorize this chart, you could break this chart up looking like that in your head. If you memorize this chart in your head, you say, okay, the first 4 on the upper right corner, they're mabni ala fatha. The top one in the left, that's mabni ala dhamma, and all the rest are mabni ala sukun. That's the past tense verb. That's the bina of the fi'l madi. Now we have the ahwal of the amr. Ahwal bina al-amr. The conditions of the bina for the fi'l amr. Right? If we remember, now we're talking over here. What are they going to be mabni on here? So we have نظف أسنانك بعد الأكل. Clean your teeth after eating. نظف أسنانك بعد الأكل. And I'm just going to try to read quickly, not necessarily have to go through all the translations and everything, but we will. نظف, this is you're talking to someone. You're talking to your son. نظف أسنانك بعد الأكل. تمهل في سيرك. تمهل, from mahala, to be slow, right? To be slow. Take your time. Don't rush, basically. Fi sayrak, in your walking, right? Take your time. Don't be rushing. And استمع نصح الطبيب. استمع نصح الطبيب. Listen to the advice of the doctor. استمع. There's a difference between isma and istami'. Isma is to hear. Isma is to hear. Or sama' is to hear. Astama'a yastami'u, with that ta in there, means to listen. There's a difference, right? If you go in the supermarket and they're playing Christmas songs, right? Do I accuse you of listening to Christmas carols? No. Why? Because you heard them, but you weren't listening to them. You didn't put them on. You weren't like following along and taking benefits or whatever from them. You weren't listening to them. You were just hearing them. There's a difference, right? Istami', listen to the nusх al-tabib, to the advice of the doctor. Okay, that's number 1. Section number 2. استيقظنا مبكرات. استيقظنا مبكرات. Here you're talking to some women, right? استيقظنا مبكرات. Right? You're saying, or basically, yeah, get up early. Right? Let me see, turn my page real quick. Get up early, right? استيقظنا مبكرات. Or this is not necessarily to females, but this is a noon of, it's called noon of man, it's skipping my head. No, it is noon in this way. Yes, it is. Noon in this way. Noon in this way. استيقظنا مبكرات. Wake up early. أجدنا طبخ الطعام. You're telling a group of women Ajidna from yajidu, meaning to be good at something, right? So basically, learn how to cook food well. Learn well how to cook food, right? Tabkh ta'am, cooking of food. Learn that well. Become good at it. Like jayyid, right? Like from the word jayyid, like good. Learn well the cooking of food, right? حذبنا أولادكن. حذبنا أولادكن.
So there's going to be a shutdown there with a kasra on it.
حذب حذب, that's a shadda with a kasr, yes. حذبنا. حذبنا means like, comes from the word adab, meaning basically if someone is muhadhib, meaning that they have good character, good etiquettes. حذبنا أولادكن, basically discipline your children, teach them manners, right? Then we have تجنبن المزاح الكثير. تجنبن المزاح الكثير from jim nun ba, meaning to stay away from something, to avoid something. تجنبن المزاح الكثير, avoid a lot of joking, a lot of mizah, a lot of mizah. And the scholars say this is normally the rule, but in a case like this, where we're learning Arabic, when Arabic can be difficult, then instead of being very, very serious, then make it lighthearted, make it a little fun, because otherwise people just run away from it. Because we're not students like they were in the past, right? And they used to love this stuff. They used to love to memorize 3,000 lines of poetry and grammar, right? And we don't like to memorize one rule, right? So, تجنبن المزاح الكثير, avoid much. This noon with the shadda on it, this is called the noon al-tawkid, al-thaqila. The noon of tawkid, the noon of emphasis, al-thaqila, meaning the heavy one, because it has a shadda on it. Because there's a noon of tawkid, a khafifa, the noon of emphasis, which is light and it doesn't have a shadda on it, and we'll get there inshallah ta'ala in the next set. Ashiranna ikhwanaka bil ma'ruf, basically live with your friends, deal with your friends, right, or your brothers, with what is good, right? Ukhrujanna ila al-hukul, go out to the fields. And all of these are the noon, at-tawkid, at-thaqila. The noon of emphasis, right? Which is thaqila, meaning it's heavy, meaning it has more emphasis, right? More emphasis. And there's a noon, at-tawkid, with less emphasis. It's not as emphasized. Ihfadan ahd as-sadiq. Ihfadan from ihfad, right? Then preserve, right? Preserve the ahd as-sadiq, basically the contract of the friend, basically your friendship, right? Preserve your friendship. Preserve the agreement that you have with your friend. Not just agreement like business. We mean like the friendship, right? Ahsinan ila nas, from ahsan, meaning do good, do excellent, be excellent. Ila nas, to the people. Ahsinan, this is called the noon at-tawkid al-khafifa. It does not have the shadda on it, right? And we can see that they're dealt with in different manners, and we're going to go over the rule inshallah. Then we have awqidan misbahaka. Awqidan from uqida, meaning to light. Misbahaka, your misbah, your lantern, right? Now go back up. Alqi shabaqata ya sayyad. Alqi, right? Alqi, there's a kasra on that qaf. Alqi, shabakata. Ya sayyad, ya sayyad, O hunter, throw your net. Right? He's fishing or whatever he's doing. He might be catching something with a net. Alqi, throw your net. Ud'u at-tabib, call the doctor. Ud'u at-tabib, call the doctor. And taharra sidqa fima taqul. Taharra, this is actually from ha, ra, alif maksura. My pen don't want to write outside that margin there. So taharra meaning to aim and to strive for truthfulness in what you say. As-sidq. Taharra sidqa fima taqul. Try for and aim for, stick to, right, like this, truthfulness in what you say. Iftah, iftaha nawafidha al-hujrati. Iftaha, iftaha, right? This is talking to two people. Iftaha, iftaha. We see here these are weak verbs. We have the, right, alqi from laqa, right, ud'u from da'a, and taharra from taharra. If you put that in that form, you have a weak vowel on the end here. So these are weak verbs, right? These are weak. So they have a different, remember we said that you're either going to have a verb which is sahih in its akhir or mu'tal in its akhir. It's either going to be sahih, meaning it's going to have every consonant there is except the alif, a waw, or a ya, and it's sahih in the ending. And if it's mu'tal, if it has a sickness or a weakness in its ending, the last one is going to be an alif, a waw, or a ya. And that's what we have in this 13 through 15, right? Now 16 through 18, we have iftaha nawafid al-hujra, open the windows of the room. It's talking to two people. This is the alif al-ithnain. Akrima duyufakuma. Akrima, honor your guests, or honor the guests of you two, right? Honor you two's guests, right?
Honor you two's guests. How much you two people honor your guests?
Yeah, you two people honor duyufukuma, your guests, but I'm trying to show your being two, right? Your two's guests,
Yeah.
right? Duyuf is plural, daif and duyuf, right? Oh, zuza shajarati nabqi. I don't know. Give me a second. Let me pull up one of my many dictionaries, Abdullah. Shake. I figured it was. Shake, right? Shake. Oh, zuza is shake. And then shajara is tree. And nabq is a lotus tree. Nabq is a lotus tree, right? So shake the lotus tree. Yeah, the lotus tree, right? Oh, zuza, talking to two people. Then 19 through 21. Let me go before we continue. Lessons 1, you were talking to single male, right? Here you were talking to plural females. Here, the second group, or third group, I mean, you were talking to, this is noon of emphasis, right? Thaqila. I'm not going to be able to get my ha in there. My pen is not writing outside that margin. And this is the noon, emphasis, khafif. You just have to put up with my little bad writing because my pen is not right now. The lines. Then we have, and this is another book. If you don't have the book, you could buy this book in America, I'm sure. If you call Dar es Salaam, or if you call Al Jarir bookstore in California, I'm sure you could buy this book. Right? I'm sure. Right? If you don't buy it, print it out. At least print out, every page every week or whatever, the chapter or whatever every week. Here we have week verbs. Right? Here we're talking to two people. This one, ijma'u. Ijma'u thamr al-bustan. Gather the fruits of the garden. Ijma'u. Here we're talking to plural masculine. Right? Ijma'u thamr al-bustan. Istahimmu fi nahar. Istahimmu meaning take a bath. From the word hammam. Hammam is the bathroom. It's not the toilet. The mirhad is the toilet. Hammam is the bath, right? Istahimmu fi nahar. Take a bath in a river. Talking to a group of people. Ukhruju ila al-huqul. Go out to the gardens. Now here we have ukhrujanna. This is go out to the, not gardens, the fields. Ukhrujanna. Go out to the fields. He's told you ukhruju ila al-huqul 10 times. And on the 10th time he said, man, ukhrujanna. Like that. Get out there, right? It's with emphasis. So 22 through 24, and then we'll read the qaida. Right? Rat. Go ahead.
I don't see no Jannah.
I said hukul, asif. Ukhruju ila al-hukul. I said Jannah for gardens. That's my fault. Ukhruju. Oh, here it is, over here. Ukhrujanna.
Oh.
Ukhrujanna. It's got the noon and tawkid. Right? Rattibi athath al-hujr. You're talking to a female. Rattibi athath al-hujra. Arrange the, this is to singular female. Rattibi, from rataba, to arrange or order. Athath al-hujra. Arrange the furniture of the room.
The rakta or rakti.
Huh? Rattibi.
Okay.
Rattibi. Athath al-hujra. Agliqi. Bab ad-dar. Lock the door of the house. The door of the house. Dar is another word for house, right? Ihfadhi darsik. Darsaki. Ihfadhi darsaki. Memorize your lesson. Memorize your lesson. Okay? Now, if you had your paper there, or if you had another piece of paper, you could have been writing down all this vocabulary. And you would have to go to the dictionary, and then you would have a whole lot of new words here, maybe in every sentence of 24, maybe just say at least maybe one new word that you didn't know, right? Some of them might have more than that. So you'd have at least 20, 25 new words, maybe more than that. So now let's go and read the qaida. The rule that we have here. And we'll go back over here from time to time, and we will write it, right? We will write it. What is it mabni on? The fil amr. He says, Yubna al-fil amr ala sukun إذا كان صحيح الآخر ولم يتصل به شيء. Okay, so when we did the mabni for the bina for the fil madi, Then he said, it was mabni ala fatha, except if the waw al-jama'a or the noon al-niswa or the ta al-mutaharrika or the na of the fa'ilin. So the rule is a fatha in the fil madi. If there is no waw al-jama'a or na noon al-niswa or ta al-mutaharrika or na al-fa'ilin, right? Then it will change. If it's the waw al-jama'a, it's a dhamma. If it's the other ones, then it's a sukoon. Now, here he's saying that it's mabni ala sukoon. This is your rule. If there's nothing attached to it, right? If it is sahih in its ending, remember we said up here, it's weak. This is talking to a person. This is talking to a singular male. It's the same here, but it's weak, so it does not mabni ala sukoon, as we see this sukoon here. Right? Right? Or he says, وَكَذَلِكَ إِذَا اتصلت النون النسوة. Likewise, if it is attached to noon and niswa. So if I go back up real quick, we'll see when I put the noon and niswa here, it's still mabni ala sukoon. Right? طيب. Mabni ala sukoon. For if nothing is attached to it, it's mabni ala sukoon and the noon and niswa. If nothing is attached to it and it's sound in its ending, then it is the noon and niswa. Then it is sukoon. As well as the noon and niswa is with the sukoon. Okay? I know I'm going back and forth, but I'm trying to make it where we're seeing it. وَيُبْنَى عَلَى الْفَتْحِ إِذَا اتصلت به نون التوكيد. Right? وَيُبْنَى عَلى الْفَتْحِ. So when we have our noon al-tawkid, why is it not going? There we go. I'm clicking the screen. We put our noon al-tawkid, al-thaqila or khafifa. We see that last letter has a fatha. أخرجن عشرن تجنبن أحسنا أوقدا. Right? Then we see that it is with a fatha. If it is a noon al-tawkid, thaqila or khafifa. Go back down here. ويبنى على حذف حرف العلة إذا كان معتل الآخر. And it's mabni. We're going to say it's mabni على حذف حرف العلة. حذف حرف العلة means we're dropping the weak letter. So the ya here was dropped. The waw here was dropped. The alif here, because this taharra, this is an alif maksura, right? A ya without dot is called an alif maksura. It has the same rule. So we dropped our ya, our waw, and our alif, and that is what it's mabni on. It's mabni on hadaf. We'll just say hadafa harf illa, dropping the weak letter, right? Okay, so we had that, and then what did we have here? We had Okay. ويبنى على حذف النون إذا اتصلت به ألف الاثنين أو واو الجماعة أو ياء المخاطبة. Okay. So no, ألف الاثنين means dual. Waw al-Jama' is plural, and Ya al-Mukhatama is feminine singular. Ya al-Mukhataba. This is the Ya of the one you're talking to. So when we go up, we're going to see in the next three examples, we said dual, plural, and feminine singular, right? So we say Iftahan. This would originally been a noon here because we have two, right? And we would also have for instance, tajma'una. 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 This is the plural form of the verb. You guys gather. But when I made it a command, I dropped my ta. I said ijma'u. And I dropped my noon and added an alif there to protect my wow, right? So when I drop my noon, that is my sign of Mabni here. And when I say, right, Turatibina. Let me see if I can pull up this, go up a little bit. Turatib would be you, order. You are organizing. Turatib. But when it's a female, turatibina. Right? Turatibina. But when I make it a command, I drop my ta. And I don't need to add an alif because my ra has a fatha on it already. And I drop my noon. And so it's hadaf noon. Right? So here, I drop my noon here. The same thing up here. I would have the noon. I would say tahani. I wrote that wrong. Tahani. Right? I can't get that to right. Tahani. I'll come over here. Tahani. Tahani. But because I made it a command, this is fil amr we're dealing with, I dropped my ta and I put an alif because my fa has a sukoon, so I need an alif. So I say if taha, and I drop my noon. If taha, you too. So now we have hadaf, and hadaf has two. Harf illa, the weak letter, or the noon. And this is the noon is for two, the noon for plural, masculine, and the noon for feminine. Right? Now, just to make sure you notice, like, there is no commanding yourself or commanding others. So we're not dealing with third person, and we're not dealing with first person. Because you don't talk to yourself in command, and if you do, you talk to yourself as a second person. You say, hey, you, shut up. You know, you're talking to yourself, but you talk to yourself like you're talking to another person. Third person, we're not dealing with. You don't command someone who's not here. You can tell someone to tell that person, go tell your brother this. That's different. You're commanding him, but you're not really commanding him directly. So the command verbs only deal with second person. Right? They only deal with second person. So we're only dealing with these here. And so And we said, as I said before in the other class, the last one, that some of this may be a little heavy, but the more you learn your verb charts, the easier it's going to be, and you're going to know why something is the way it is. And you're not only why something is the way it is, you're going to be able to pronounce it correctly when there are no vowels, and you're going to know what it means as well, because you're going to be able to say ashiranna, tajannabanna, and ukhrajanna, and so on. Ihfadan. You're going to know what this noon is. All this noon is tawkid, khafifa. This is noon tawkid, thaqila, right? Well, how did this get here? Why is this ya here? Because we dropped our noon, because we made turattabina into a command verb. So we're telling her just to organize, and so on and so forth. It may seem like a lot, but the more you have control of this, the more you have control of the Arabic language. Any questions? I do realize that this is heavy. However, if you don't benefit from it right now, you'll benefit from it in the future, for sure. You're going to go back later on and say, man, I remember going over that. It didn't benefit me a lot back then in Muharram of 1440, but in Muharram of 1442, man, I'm using that. You understand? 2 years from now, whatever, you'll realize that you will be using it. And it's very, very beneficial as for how to conjugate verbs and how to speak in proper sentences. So I advise you to study it. If nothing else, learn the vocabulary. Make yourself familiar with the subject. If there's no questions, then we'll leave it at that, man. So, inshallah ta'ala, we'll meet tomorrow for Thalathatul Usul with the Shah of Abdul Muslim al-Qasim.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum salam.
This is the second book, am I right?
This is the second section of the book. Yes, there's 3 sections in this book, and this is the second section.
I used to have the 3 books back in my country, but when I was leaving, I gave it up.
Yeah, actually, this is for the Mutawasita. This is for the middle school. There's one for high school and all of that. This is for the middle school.